So we'll go through the quick demonstration of storing custom attributes in Okta's universal directory and taking advantage of the universal directory storage for custom attributes in authentication by OpenID Connect, and how to follow the recommended approach of pulling large stream of data such as custom attributes that you may have like string arrays and so forth. So first step is to look at the universal directory. So this is the glass of pane for universal directory, which showcases different user profiles that Okta has. If you see an Okta user profile, I have a field type test array, which is custom array. Let's quickly look at its definition. It's not required, but at the same time, I have defined it as read write, and the display name is test array and variable name to reference it. And while you're pulling the attribute out from Okta's expression language and so forth, that's where it comes handy. So let me showcase a quick value in the test array. So for example, I have this user set up that has the profile, and in the profile I also have the custom attribute. There are different rows here in license. This is a set of data: license type, location, and identifier with time zone and so forth. So let's quickly walk through how the application which follows the OpenID Connect framework to authenticate via Okta would retrieve the token and also hit the user info endpoint to get the data and the bloated user profile, if you will. So I have a sample application running, which basically I'll try to demonstrate the flow from. So for instance, this is my user. Let me quickly copy this here. Okay, that should be good. And the password. If I sign in at this point, Okta basically authenticates the user and gives me a token back, and I have a corresponding OpenID Connect application set up, and I'm requesting particular scopes here, which is OpenID Connect, OpenID profile, read, and so forth. Now, if you see, I have two tokens returned from Okta: the access token and the ID token. Now, if I were to basically look at the ID token real quick, what do I have? If I copy paste, I have a token analyzer. Let's paste this guy here. So I have a standard header payload showcasing who's this token issued for, which is your client. And this is a client ID for that user, for that application. And then you have different high-level parameters. I don't see the bloated user profile. All I see is the name and the sub, which is the identifier of the user. Now, the recommended approach with OpenID Connect is to basically send the token back to the user info endpoint to retrieve the data that you need beyond standard profile, because ID tokens have to be lightweight. So in my application, I'm basically just going to send the token back to the user info endpoint when I hit this link, and it'll give me the user profile back. So if you think, if you see, I have the JSON payload return for the profile back. And if you see, there is an array. This is the array of attributes that are part of that string array where I stored that at the user profile. So getting the ID token first, and then using user info endpoint to retrieve the values. Now, other variation for the similar flow is if you were to basically get an access token out of Okta and send it to a resource, how you could take advantage of access token rather than hitting the user info endpoint and send that access token directly to the resource itself. So you resource can take advantage of the custom claims. So let's quickly go to the application setup here. If I go to API, you'll see that I have, this is the authorization server, by the way, and this was a particular claim that I had at the for the ID token, the user test array, and this is the mapping for the custom attribute that I defined for the ID token. So when you hit the user info endpoint, this particular attribute pulls from user profile depending on the scope that I'm requesting. You have a couple of choices here. You can just assign this claim to any scope, and then when you basically hit the user info endpoint with any scope, you'll get this claim. Now let's quickly go and assign, add a new claim. So I'll go here. Let's see what I named it as array. Let's say user array. Let's change the claim type to be access token, value to be expression, and still do user.test array. And just for the sake, I'll do read as well and keep it that create. So now I have another claim here added for the access token, and with the value of the mapping. So let's go back and quickly do the flow real quick first for the user again. Since I'm authenticated, I get the token back. And if I go and copy paste this token, this is the access token, by the way. And if I load this token up, you will see the custom attribute user array populated here in the access token. So two different ways, two different recommended approaches, how how the developers should be implementing OpenID Connect versus the access token, the ID token versus access token to pull the custom attributes out of the profile, depending on the use case you have. Thank you.